Hey guys, this is Charles with Charlotte Area Historical Gamers, and today we're going to take a look at Vive Empereur, which is one of the predecessors to Commands and Colors Napoleonics, and it was written after Battlecry was invented. So I think that the guy who designed this basically took Richard Borg's idea for Commands and Colors system and kind of converted it to his own idea with Napoleonics. It's got some interesting ideas that I thought were kind of fun. And I like the map and the thickness of the map, the number of hexes. It has got a much smaller map. So here's the plain side. And I don't know which battle this is, but I think this is 20 by 13, where Commands and Colors is usually 10 by 13, 13 by 10, somewhere close to that. And it's got the geomorphic hexes like the Commands and Color system does. You take a scenario card and lay out the scenario as it dictates. And this is kind of what it looks like. So you've got woods, redoubts, hills, more woods, towns, major roads and streams, and things like that. The graphics on the cards are pretty nice. Let's see. Each one of the areas is labeled like K1, K2. So for setup, you basically have to follow the guide here to set this up. I never was a fan of anything like this, but it seems like it might be worth it to try to set up these scenarios because it is a little bit deeper than the regular Commands and Colors. The system plays a little differently as far as how the cards play out. Here's your infantry, or your units, basically infantry, artillery, and you use poker chips for extra units. So if you're taking a hit, you just basically remove a poker chip, and then the last unit coming off will serve as your award for killing a total unit. Square markers. Ordered unit markers. So if you're ordering a unit, basically you'll take a chip and you lay it down beside it to show that the unit is ordered. And it basically has just got the symbol on there, a flag if the unit has to retreat, to help remember all that. You'll see that the dice are very similar to the Commands and Colors system as well. You've got infantry, probably lights since it's white, heavy artillery, flags. White must be leader. It might be leader. Quite sure. More units. These are the Prussians. And this game only came with the British, the Prussian, and the French. And more British troops, which I'll put in the box right now. So I've got a friend of mine who lives in Winston-Salem area, Matthew Fidel, and he's a big fan of Commands and Colors. He'd never heard of this game. So I was telling him about it, and I thought I'd share it with you guys. I'd actually given this game to a friend of mine and asked him to borrow it back just to do the video and show it to you guys. Bought this from a guy named Carl on Board Game Geek, and he wrote a very nice note. It's always kind of neat when somebody writes a note and puts it in a board game, and it just kind of shows you how much they love it. But he basically said this game includes the basic game and the advanced rules. I've played this a lot through the years. I really enjoy it. Let's see. Enjoy the game as I did. I haven't played it in a long time, but it's nice to pass it on to somebody who will bring it to the table. So there you go. All right, so here's some order dice with the nationalities on it. So you've got Prussian, French, and English, and I'm not sure what that's used for, but that would be kind of good to use for an initiative roll. So if you wanted to say Allies or French to go. And here we will take a look at the general overview of the game. So at the beginning of the game, each player is going to draw 6 cards at the turn of a battle, and both players play a card at the same time, which is kind of different. Players alternate giving orders to one unit at a time, As each unit is given its order, it moves or fires, just like the regular Commands and Colors system. Repeat step 3 and 4 until both players have played all 6 cards. Return to step 1 and redraw your 6. So it's not like Commands and Colors where you get stuck with a dead card in your hand and you can hold on to it for the whole game. This forces you to play it eventually. The cards are somewhat Italian and somewhat English, so the original game was written in Italian, but most of it is very easy to understand. So you've got leadership, order 1 leader, Dadi extra invite salute, force march, you got the section cards. So you got order left, order center, order 1 in each or 2 in each section. Okay, and the standard infantry. I apologize, my camera keeps shifting here. Hey guys, this is Charles with Charlotte Area Historical Gamers, and today we're going to talk about Vive Empereur, which is a Command and Colors style game that came out after Battlecry came out, and was like the predecessor to Commands and Colors Ancients and Commands and Colors Napoleonics. I think the Battlecry came out first, then this came out, then Battle Lore, Commands and Colors Ancients, and then I believe Commands, Colors, and Napoleonics was next. But you'll see a lot of similarity to the system, to the two systems. The board is a lot deeper and smaller hexes. And it's also got the hexes labeled by identifier, which you may or may not consider necessary. But for the scenario card setup, it's done the old school way where the unit is placed on 11S. Or S10 or Q9. Personally, I don't like that. It's just a pain in the butt to set up, but this is a pretty board. The units are designed to be 1 unit on top of a set of poker chips. So the extra poker chips represent extra hits. So if you've got a 4-man infantry, put this guy down, and you'll do this. So this is a really good way to create extra units if you're doing like an epic game in any of the other Commands and Colors system. Just take, say you've only got 1 copy of Memoir 44, and hopefully you've got 2 boards, or you've got a big map, one of the big paper maps, and you want to have enough units. Take a single unit, put it on some poker chips, and use the extra chips as hits. It's not as nice as having all those units on the board, but it certainly lets you get the job done without having to go out and buy an extra copy. So that's what the poker chips are for. We've got more units, so we've got artillery, cavalry, little paper stance, which work perfectly fine and actually look pretty good on the battlefield, right? Similar to a block game. We've got the British guys here. And we've got dice. So we've got these order dice, which have the French flag, the Prussian flag, and the British flag. And I believe this is used for initiative on the very first turn of the game. Roll it, see who goes first. And then you would take turns going back and forth after that. The dice are very similar to the Commands and Colors dice. So you've got infantry hits, cavalry hits, artillery, leader, and a flag. So you can see it's almost an exact copy of the Commands and Colors system. We've got order chips here. Order chips have the flag identifiers. I believe after you hit a unit, you place this on there to identify what you rolled. The rules are in Italian natively, so that's always a bit of a problem. I got this game early on, and I had a little trouble with the Italian part. So, but the cards are fairly easy to look at and figure out what they mean. So you've got attack on the left, order 5 units on the left-hand side, order 2 units on the left-hand side, order 2. So these are all section cards, pretty standard looking at. You've got a right attack, so order 5 units, roll 5 dice, and activate 5 matching dice. It's a little bit different than the regular one. Roll 6 dice, so order 6 units. Roll 6 dice, and active units must match dice. Max 2 units for each section, so 2, 2, and 2 of either infantry, cavalry, or artillery. Possibly a leader. I don't know what a flag would do. Left attack, some more cards. Bombardment. Each artillery unit fires doubles its values before modifiers. Force march. Leadership. So not all of these are in English, so it's very hard to tell what they're doing. But honestly, I enjoy looking at this just to kind of get more ideas. This game does have flanking on it. I like the rolling of the dice to activate a unit, so I don't know, it's kind of cool, different ideas you can play with. More geomorphic terrain overlays to go over top of the game. I think the artwork's pretty nice on those. Square markers. And a nice little note from the guy who sold me the game. Basically said how much he enjoyed the games, gave a brief description of how the game is played. The advanced system uses special cards I've printed and included. The Allies and the British cards with the red A on them. The French use the cards with the blue with the F on them. Kind of self-explanatory after reading the rules. The base game is similar to Battlecry and uses more cards to order units. I included unit markers, white with images of units, to help keep track of the units previously ordered. Okay, so it sounds like... Okay, I think I understand something a little bit better as far as the sequence of play. So the sequence of play is a little bit different than a standard Commands and Colors card. You draw six cards at the beginning of a turn per side. Both players play a card at the same time, which is different, and players alternate giving orders 1 unit at a time. It doesn't say anything about the initiative, but I'm sure that 1 initiative die is used to decide who goes first. You go back and forth until all your cards are used. You have to use every card that you have. I know in other Commands and Colors games, sometimes you get a dead card in your hand, and you can keep it in your hand the whole game. Apparently on this one you can't. As each unit is given its order, it moves and or fires. And I'm assuming from the way you said about the ordered units is that each unit can only move once. Repeat steps 3 and 4 until both players have given all 6 orders and return to step 1. So you'll notice that some of the army values are very similar to Commands and Colors. A little bit more of a range. Infantry is 432. There is no light infantry. There is not much variation. It's more like Commands and Colors Ancients. What is it? It's infantry, cavalry, artillery, horse artillery, and that's it. There is no light units and things like that. There is flanking, so if you attack somebody from the rear, you'll get a +2 dice. So infantry firing on a square, flank, or rear +1 die. Artillery firing on a square, flank, or rear +2 dice. So I think it would be really tough to get artillery to shoot on the flank of somebody, but it might be possible. Maybe with the horse artillery it is. Cavalry firing on square hits only if a general is rolled. Infantry firing on square if only if the general is rolled. So everything else looks pretty standard. So here's some English explanation of the cards. The command cards: attack on right flank, attack on center, skirmish on right flank. Deal 24 cards to every player as indicated. Force march, bombardment, grand. Stand and fire is solo fiocco. Force marches, bombardment, grand charge. All cavalry units and 2 adjacent sections can move and shock. pretty cool. More of the Italian cards. Advanced. So here's the red and the blue he was talking about. It's in Italian, so I think he's got some English printed ones in here, which will help a lot. Here's the scenario setup card. I like the depth of the board, which is much bigger than Commands and Colors, but I don't like the having to go through and find K2, K3, L2, P2 in order to place a unit in the specific squares. I think that used to be a pretty common thing to do, but I like the pictures a lot better now with the way that Richard Borg does his. Let's see, we've got rules in English here. And I won't bore you with the details on reading the rules and things like that, but it's pretty. It's got some nice depth to it. I like the fact that the map is small and condensed and has some portability to it. And it looks like a fun game to play. Interesting concepts to try, and even try in Commands and Colors Napoleonics or other systems if you want, because this year has been kind of more solo for most everybody that I know. So it's always fun to try different rules, try to find ways to enjoy the games at home. And I appreciate you watching. Again, this was Vive la Empereur by Geo Games out of Italy, and produced in 2003. Thanks for watching.